Today, we traveled by bus from Cusco to Puno. Along the way, we passed through a few small towns, all of them dusty and windswept. We saw those little three-wheeled taxis everywhere. By the time we pulled into Puno, it was already around 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Puno is known as the folkloric capital of Peru. Every February, the city comes alive with month-long celebrations and festivities. The city center itself is quite small. You can pretty much walk across the whole area in about half an hour. After resting here for the night, we headed out to Lake Titicaca the next morning. Our plan for the day was to first visit the floating islands of the Uros people. Lake Titicaca sits on the border of Peru and Bolivia at an altitude of 3,812 meters. In the shallow waters of the lake, totora reeds grow in abundance. To escape conflict generations ago, the indigenous Uros people chose to live on floating islands built entirely from layers of these reeds. There are over 100 of these floating islands on the lake. Beneath the reeds is a base of living roots, anchored with wooden stakes so the islands don't drift away. More layers of dry reeds are stacked on top in alternating directions. A typical island can last for about 40 years. The island we visited was home to 4 families with 17 people in total. The women manage the households and create handicrafts. These 4 families share a leader who is responsible for distributing the income earned on the island. They raise their own fish and small black pigs, and much of their food is preserved through dehydration. These reeds aren't just for building islands and houses. If you rub and twist them and place them on your head, they're believed to cure headaches. The local school is also built on a floating island. We took a ride on one of their traditional reed boats to explore the area, watching how they farm trout and harvest the reeds. The Uros people peel the outer layer of the reed roots and eat them like bananas. We even unexpectedly found some wild duck eggs tucked away in the reed beds. After leaving the floating islands, we traveled to a peninsula on the lake, where we were assigned to stay with different local families. This was my host family's front yard. The view was absolutely beautiful. This was my room, furnished in the traditional village style. Next, we headed to the family courtyard for lunch. There's a type of wild mint that grows on the island, which we steeped in hot water to make tea. Lunch was a spread of cornbread, a potato and broad bean soup, boiled tubers, beans, and a fried egg omelet. Everything tasted incredibly fresh and authentic, and the soup, in particular, was delicious. After lunch, we spent some time lounging outside, daydreaming, napping, and soaking up the sun before helping our hosts with some farm work. We started by husking corn, and with so many hands helping, we finished in no time. Then we moved on to shelling beans, which was just as easy. Once the farm work was finished, we joined the villagers for a friendly game of volleyball. It was a hilarious version of the game where you could use both your hands and your feet, and everyone had a blast. Dinner prep was also a communal effort, with everyone pitching in. Next morning, we went for a hike on Tranquil Island. The island has 6 villages and over 2,000 residents, and tourism resources are managed by the island authorities to ensure everything is distributed fairly. On this island, knitting is traditionally a man's job, while the women are responsible for spinning the yarn. Our guide mentioned that while the residents raise livestock and poultry, meat is usually reserved for major festivals and special occasions. Most of the time, their diet is vegetarian, with lake fish being their main source of protein. The guided hike lasted about an hour and a half to 2 hours and wasn't too difficult. Our guide was incredibly detailed, explaining every aspect of island life. Finally, we had lunch at a designated restaurant on the other side of the island. If you come to Lake Titicaca, you have to try the trout. Although they were originally a Canadian species, the local environment makes them much smaller, but the flavor is outstanding. After lunch, we caught the boat back to Puno, bringing our time in Peru to a close. Next stop, La Paz, Bolivia.